G'day, g'day, g'day. Welcome back to the Yucky Outback, Australian Deathguard tactics from the plague-ridden side of the tabletop. I'm your host, the Stone Strategist, and today we're going to be going through the list I took to my local RTT and how I took home second place as Deathguard. Here we're going to go through the list as a whole. We're going to be able to show you guys how I played it, the strategy I went with, why it performed as well as it did in the current meta with orcs being as good as they are, and all the changes that we're going to hopefully get and what to change about the list from what I've learned from the RTT. Let's get in the video. You know how it goes, guys. We don't move fast, but we do move with inevitability. Everyone, you know what time it is. Let's get yucky. Alrighty, guys. So let's look at the list that I took to the RTT and why you guys should run this exact list to better off your games in the future. Alrighty, Yucky Yuckback Nation. Let's go through the list and break it down really quickly to see what I was running and why it worked as well as it did. So, first up, we're playing Virulent Vectorum with sticky objectives, pretty much the Deathguard index attachment for 3DP. I still think it's got a lot of viable play playing Take and Hold. Let me explain why. So, today, starting us off, we have our Blightlord Terminator Brick. The Blightlord Terminator Brick is literally here to move out from the center onto the objective, be an anchor. They have great potential at doing heaps of damage with the Strat Creeping Blight for this attachment, where you get full hit and reroll into an afflicted unit, and pair this up with our ability where if you're 5 models and greater for starting strength, you get +1 AP and +1 strength. These guys do heaps of work. Do not sleep on them. I've seen other channels and content creators use these guys in their armies, and I haven't understood the hype, but now I do. I was able to wound Catan Shard at full health down to 4 wounds and 1 shooting with hit wounds with these guys, and then once they charged, they finished it off. It was the Nightbringer, and then I went to the Void Dragon and killed it in shooting with a Defiler. These guys here just did huge work for me. So, massive one up to the Blightlord Terminators. Give them a go if you haven't and see what they're like for yourself. But from what I saw, these guys were pretty good. Next up, we've got a Death Shroud Terminator Brick with a LOC. The reason why I'm running these guys is to drop down, kill something with high wounds, high tough to move, or kill an elite unit, solve it, problem solved. The only issue is that they do have to come from reserves or do a rapid ingress and the turn to prepare beforehand. So understanding that is positioning play. If you can get around that, take these guys on your list. I see a great play for them still in this current edition. Also, the character has a 5-up crit for sustains to pop off and get lethal hits better. Next unit, we've got the Demon Prince of Nurgle on foot. The Demon Prince of Nurgle on foot's here because he's pretty much an auto-include for me in most VB lists. He's T12 with a 2-up, 4-up. I've got the enhancement where he has a 5-up, Feel No Pain, so he's very tough to move. Pairing this up with his abilities, he gets lone up 12 inches when he's within 3 of a Deathguard infantry model. He also gets a anti-CP, a reduced strat cost for a CP when you target something within 12 or him himself. He also gives benefit of cover to anything within 6 that's a Deathguard friendly model, including himself. So he, for me, is an auto-include. I usually use him to hold my expansion or be an aid piece where if I need a counter charge or something like that, he's available for it. So for me, that's kind of his job. Next up, again, shout out to the Disgusting Resilient boys, and shout out to Will in particular, my man. I saw your video. I really appreciate you shouting out the channel, my man. I can't wait to have you on the channel someday and have a conversation with you in person. I'm so happy that we're formally introduced to each other. Love what you guys are doing. Keep it up as well, and I can't wait to have a great chat with you boys. And so, personal hi to Dave, Aiden, and Will. Anyway, the reason why we're going to talk about this is because they made it. The Disgusting Resilient podcast made this strat. So the Plague Bus is where you put 2 Malignant Plaguecasters inside of a Rhino. They have a threat range of, I believe it's 24 inches if I remember my math correctly. The reason why we bring this is because they have a Witchfire range attack where they get D6 plus 3 attacks with strength 6, AP 2, and damage D3. Now, for all of this, if we pair this up with -1 save, that's AP 3 Flamers. These guys are deadly. Pair this up with the Rhino's ability. If they jump out and shoot what target the unit that the Rhino shot with and successfully hit, the models that jumped out get full wound rerolls into that unit. So these guys, if I repeat it again, is D6 plus 3, Strength 6, AP 2 base damage D3 with an additional AP if you pick the Contagion, and they're rerolling wounds. It's just, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to bring this. And also, the runner got decreased 10 points, so it got a buff. So in my eyes, you guys should definitely look into this if you haven't tried this strat. Give it a go, and go check out Disgusting Resilient podcast as well. They've got great ways and great combos as well. So give us a go. Next unit, we've got a unit of PMs with a BP. For people who don't know what I'm talking about, PMs are Plague Marines and BP is Barlow Spitfire. So BP and PMs are really good at holding my expansion. If I kill something in melee, I get +6 OC onto the character. So it goes from a, a 10 OC brick with the character, going to, I think it's like, 18 to 19. So very high OC brick. For my PM set, I ran them with full melee because I didn't want to shoot with them at all because I'm always tempted to. So running the melee, it took that away and made them so they always had 15-inch line up or 12-inch hidden. Sorry, 15-inch hidden or 12-inch hidden when obscuring with a dense terrain piece. So these guys are really hard to remove off, and if they did get there, it's kind of my fault that I let them an opponent get there that quick. So that's why I took the PMs. Next unit, Chaos Spawn, one of the most underrated units for Deathguard. They scout 6, can put Contagion in turn 1 on an objective that you need, move off, and now your opponent is sitting there with a hard choice of do I step on and cop shooting and you score, and I keep units, or do I have to kind of play the fact that I need to stop you from running with primary early? That's why I like these guys. They're also great for actions in the center too and doing action monkey stuff as well. Their combat isn't too bad. They do flat damage 2 with AP 2, strength 5, I think, D6 +2 attacks each without any cool abilities like lethals or anything. They do get a mortals back out when you get a successful wound through on them. And when I'm referring to them, it's our unit. They also have 5 up Feel No Pain. So they're quite, I think there's definitely play for them, and you should definitely try them out in your list. Don't sleep on them. They're very good for action and things like that. Next unit, Tallyman. He just sits in my home, screens it out, and gives me CP. That simple. Do an action maybe there if it comes relevant, but that's his job. Just get me that CP, big fella. That's all I need. Next up for vehicles, we've got the Mythic Blight Haulers. I run them as Contagion Spreaders, a Melter threat if need be, and to do actions as well. These guys aren't consistent at doing a lot of damage most of the time for me, and I roll terrible on the damage every single time unless I spend a CP to reroll it. So just run these guys for Contagion so I can get Death Shroud in, or put something Afflicted for my big shooting units to be able to really punch that caliber into them. Then the next model I have is a Floater Bloat Drone with the Flamers. I run this over the Flesh Mold because sure, you can charge in, get your Contagion up, but if you're within that distance, you're going to have the Contagion on them probably anyway, and the Flamers are great for Overwatch threats. So if you get a unit that's down really low models and you haven't killed it, but you still OC them and they move, or they don't have to move now anymore, you spend OC in Overwatch and get it gone. So that's why I prefer the Flames over the Flesh Mold at the moment. And then Big Daddy Defiler. He's just there with the Hades Battle Cannon, Executioner Cannons, and Heavy Reaper Autocannons. The Heavy Reaper Autocannons were able to, in my RTT, I spent a CP on Overwatch, and they killed a full healthy brick of Custodes. A 6-man brick. Full healthy. A lot of sparking is involved with that, but that shows the firepower that this guy has. Pairing this all up with, you can slap an additional AP for -1 save effectively into all of these stats is really good as well. I prefer the Hades Battle Cannon over the Executioner Cannon at the moment, as I like the volumes of shots compared to having the high strength on the other shooting. If I was going to run a full anti-vehicle Defiler, I would bring the Las Cannons over the Heavy Auto Reaper Cannons as well. But for me, this guy suits my playstyle super well. I like having a lot of answers and the Devil Winch to do damage kind of everywhere. So that's why I'm running the Defiler. So that's the list that I took, and let's keep going on to the video so you guys can learn about how my RTT went and how this list performed. Alright guys, let's start talking about the experience I had with this RTT and go through the games that I had. So to give you an overall review before I get started, I came second in the store RTT, which I was very impressed about because I thought Deathguard were going to be a lot weaker in some of the matchups that I had, but we had our own. It's good to know that if you're a good player, Deathguard still do alright. So for my matchups, I was paired up against Custodes, Necrons, and Orcs. How the games were played out is for Custodes, I was able to score 100 points to 63. On Necrons, I was able to score 92 to 40 my way. And for the last game, which was my downfall, unfortunately, it was 78 to 86. Pretty much that last game for me was a learning curve of what orcs are capable of now. I haven't had too many reps into orcs for 11th edition online and in person, and orcs are the hype. Those guys are really good. I really think orcs have a great turning point this edition, and it's about time. So let's do a quick review of each game, because I'm going to break down each game I had in a full-blown battle report video coming out for you guys for each individual game, so you guys can see the strategy, strategic, the mindset, how Deathguard played in those matchups, how you need to play them. So keep around for those videos. They are coming. They're in the works. I'm just trying to get enough time to produce them. So the first game is against Custodes. I was able to pick -1 save and force from the invul. The Defile was able to overwatch and kill a 6-man brick of healthy Custodes in one going. A lot of luck involved in that, but that just kind of comes to show that if you have luck on your side with a couple rolls, it changed the game. So with Custodes, it was shout out to Joel. He was my opponent. He was able to bring some heat, but Deathguard eruptively was able to spread contagion a lot better and take the win. Against Necrons, I was running up against Craig. He was bringing the Immortal Warrior Brick spam with 2 Catan shards and some Wraith bricks. I've got a lot of games against Necrons where Necrons have a simple issue against Deathguard. If we pick -1 leadership, movement, and OC, it makes their commitment have to be a lot harder, which benefits us. And oh my gosh, it did. I was able to, with the Bloodlord Terminators, with a hit wound reroll strat into a Void Dragon, put it down to 4 wounds. They charged it, killed it. And then against the Nightbringer, I had the Defile with 2 rounds of shooting into the Nightbringer, even with reanimation protocols, and I was able to kill it. The Warrior Brick was able to be taken care of on round 2 as well. I had the Defiler and the Blightlord Terminators able to kill the Warriors, where they had 2 races left. I was able to out-OC the race the entire game. That was pretty much the sum of the Necrons. And then against Orcs, he was bringing a Stomper, a lot of vehicles, and a couple boys inside of the vehicles he was bringing. Pretty much eruptively, I didn't respect the Stomper's shooting. I think it was going to be mid to okay tier. It was able to show me that Stompers are pretty good. He was able to shoot, spike, and kill my Defiler on turn 3. And that kind of set me up after that because I didn't have a lot of damage to be able to shield that Stomper because the objective was 2 split centers where his model fitted on both, put 12 OC on either side. So pretty much from that point, I have now learnt that Stompers are more of a distraction kind of effects, and you have to kind of play around the fact that they are going to be hard to remove. If you play into them, just understand that with high OC bricks, you really need to be able to handle the fact that if you can't kill them with your units, then it's going to be more of a play around, which is what my list kind of had to struggle around. Apart from that, they were my games and my matchups, which was really interesting to see how those games went. So let's go through what I learned, the do's and don'ts of piling the list and Deathguard in future games from this RTT and what I've experienced and learnt to pass on to you guys so you guys can run the board with all of those disgusting containers that we all love to celebrate with. Alright, so the big lessons moving forward for Deathguard players that you have to factor in while playing in 11th edition and with this list in particular. So with Deathguard, we really don't want to chase kills. We want to chase board presence. Board presence is a real issue for us because we only move 5 inches with Plague Marines, which is our battle line, which gives 2 OC per model onto objectives. So don't chase kills, chase the scoring. I'm very serious about this. Chasing scoring doesn't look like, you know, not killing either. If your primary is suggesting you to do it, then do it by all means if you're playing Purge the Foe. But you need to understand that holding objectives is a big deal. Playing secondaries and getting those points is how you probably win the game because you want those, you know, those victory points. Now, I see a lot of players going and chasing kills and trying to build a high damage list to deal with big threats. There's other ways to play the game. You can out-OC your opponent. You can also turn off, you know, their OC with forced battle shocks. There's other alleys that you can exploit to play Deathguard in ways that weren't possible in 10th edition. With things like Shamble Rot with all of our Poxwalker spam that we can do with battle shocks. We've also got Mortarian's Hammer. We can do high damage with vehicles and get Death Shroud in per turn consistently with Contagion. We've also got funny ones like, for example, Champions of Contagion. Running heaps of Plague Marines with characters attached and things like that is also viable a lot more than what it was back in the day as well. So chase the scoring, not the kills. Next, we don't want to fight the whole board. We need to kind of stick to our zones. Deathguard aren't good at spreading out. We don't have that flexibility to move back into positions and try to play backwards to move forwards. We never play forwards if we have to play backwards. Once you've made a choice and you've committed to it, commit. Don't change. You need to come in with a game plan of how that list needs to play, tweak it on deployment and plan for turn 3 ahead of time, and understand that if you go out side of those perimeters, you're going to lose the game. So make sure that when you're fighting, stick to the center and one side of your expansion and play for those. Worry about the other one in turn 4 or 5. It doesn't matter. Just completely forget that it even exists, okay? And then also, pick one flank and win it. Pick the flank that you need to do to push your boys around. So what I mean by that is pick a lane. So you think of it as League of Legends, for example. You've got bot lane, top lane, and mid. And forget about jungle. Jungle doesn't exist in 40k. But what you want to do is either pick the mid that you're going to attack to push it first, or push the left or push the right first. Don't stick fixated on one, but pick a lane and push it and commit to it. That's how Deathguard want to play. There isn't enough to push that lane and take a bit of a beating, but still have enough models behind them to keep pushing up. So try that strategy and see how that works for you. Next, we don't want to expose our Defiler or our big models too early. Understand that turn 3 is Deathguard's predominant go turn. That's when you want to commit to going for your big scoring, going for your big kills, and going for your flashy plays. Turn 2 should be a setup. Turn 1 doesn't usually happen for many people. We need to, pretty much how I see it, turn 1 is a verdict of setting up or deployment. Turn 2 is positioning to get into a good spot to go for the killing turn on turn 3. And beyond that is just playing around what happened in turn 3. So try that strategy and see if that works for you too. Now, we have to understand we need to commit properly when something must die. We can't half commit. And that to me is saying a lot. I see a lot of players split firing and things, trying to do too much. Don't control the whole game. Control what's in front of you. Don't get tunnel vision, but understand that if you don't have some sort of clarity of what you're trying to do, the game's going to run away from you. Especially with Deathguard. They have a terrible problem with it at the moment. With mostly hitting up on a 4+ without a lot of rerolls for multiple units, we can't factor in that we can kill everything. We're just going to kill some things. Take that into your games, and Deathguard will perform 10 times better for you. I promise you. Last but not least, turn 3 needs to be planned way before the game starts. What I mean by this is deployment. You need to plan what is going to happen in turn 3 and kind of wing around it. When you go through your deployment, understand that I'm putting this here for this to go right in turn 3. I'm putting this here to commit for this in turn 3. I'm putting this here to support this to get to turn 3. You have to have an intent for every single model you're dropping down. And that will help you so much more with your upcoming games. If you adopt every one of these big lessons for Deathguard into 11th, your games are going to be smoother, easier to pilot, easy to pressure your opponents with contagion earlier on, and have a way better time with Deathguard than what it would be if you didn't respect all of these little tiny rules that I've made up for you guys. I hope it helps. Try them out, see if they go. Comment in, put a message in the comments below if you disagree, and what you can aid with other people too that might be able to benefit other Deathguard players in this edition and so early on. Sorry. So let's get going with the video and explain some other things that you guys definitely want to know about Deathguard. The next part of this video is the mistakes we have to watch out for, because they do pop up. Mistakes are made, but if you don't learn from them, then you're never going to be able to pilot Deathguard in the intention and the way that they need to be played for 11th. So the mistakes to look out for. So we covered it a little bit. First point I want to talk about is splitting damage. Splitting damage is a really hard one because there's moments in time where you can justify doing it, but most of the time it's not really a good idea. You need to understand that if you're going to shoot something, 9 times out of 10 you're either going to lose hidden, or you're going to expose something to your opponent to have a chance at shooting. You need to expose something with intent, and when I say intent, it needs to, if it's the intention to kill something, make sure at all costs it does, because if you don't kill something, you've wasted your opportunity with that unit, and you've pretty much sacrificed it for no reason. So make sure that if you are splitting damage, it's going to, percentage-wise, it has a good chance of killing it. If not, I wouldn't really worry about it unless you have follow-up pressure. So make sure that that's kind of a factor to think about. Now, another thing that's really important too for Deathguard is we need to understand that if you're playing epic heroes such as Mortarion, you don't want to expose him too early. He's a big model with -1 to hit, but if they can strip damage off him early on, Mortarion is not as versatile and as good than what he would be in the go turn of turn 3. Because with turn 3 go turns, you want to predominantly expect that you have your units that you need for the turn 3. So if you expose Death Shroud, Mortarion, your Defiles and things before turn 3, you're lessening the chance of being, what's the right word I'm looking for here? Successful, or have a high percentage rate of doing what you need to in turn 3 to win the game. So make sure that you understand that if you're going to expose Mortarion early, it's for the right reasons. He's not going to get clapped back too hard, and he's also going to have some amount of defensive benefit. And that's not just for Mortarion, this is for all units, by the way. Now, we need to understand that sending Plague Marines out before the fight starts is something that we have to understand too. Plague Marines right now aren't designed to be able to start the fight. They're there to finish it, or they're there to support. If you put them in as the head front, like Death Shroud are designed to, or Blight Lords, they're going to perform way worse than what you expected them to. Plague Marines, for me, are your objective holders. They are there to spread contagion. They're also there to do actions for you. They're not there to guarantee kills. Can they kill? Absolutely. But are they designed for it? Hell no. If you play it with the Biologic Putrefy and the Malignant Plaguecaster, I think that's great. But that's such a 10th edition mindset. If you're going into 11th edition with Plague Marines and you're still using 10th edition factors, that would work in 10th, not to now. Understand that once you shoot with Plague Marines, they lose Hidden. Everyone is playing with Hidden. And Hidden is such a big deal in this game. If you lose Hidden, that unit is so vulnerable. Plague Marines can't afford to be vulnerable because they don't have an invul save. They can't go to ground for a 6-up invul anymore. They only get the detection range for their go to ground now. So you need to really weigh up the factor of what units you're bringing to respect how the game is played now. Now, also, we covered it as well. Trying to kill everything. We can't do that. Deathguard aren't good at killing absolutely everything in one go. We're not the Astra Militarum in 10th like we all know and love that they could do. Rock up with heaps of tanks and just kill everything. That's not how Deathguard play. We play with strategic presence behind it. We play with, lots of debuffs to make the enemy struggle playing into us. And with waves of pressure, we knock back our opponent to the point where they're so crippled that we win. That's how Deathguard are designed. With 11th edition, there's a couple of things that I hope that will change, which I'll talk about later in the video, because they definitely do need things changed. But how we are now, don't try to kill everything. Focus on killing some things and work around the board and eliminate those threats and do target priority, I like to call it. Prioritize what units are going to hinder you winning the game first over the ones that could if they're not already are. So, reacting instead of forcing the game. What I mean by this is when you're playing Deathguard, we don't want to react emotionally. We need to play with logic the entire time. Just because you have an opponent that's moved up and there's an Overwatch threat there, don't bank on it straight away. Sit back and calm yourself and think for maybe a minute or two then weigh up the pros and cons. So, for example, sure, you have 1 CP, but you're also spending a CP that you could use for Heroic Intervention, where you can still put OC onto that unit and cripple your opponent as well. Because with Heroic Intervention, you still get fights first with Heroic now, and you also get charge benefits. So you have to weigh up what stratagems you're using, what units and strategy you're trying to afflict and use into that moment, because if you're forcing the game too, that is something that's a bit hard too. If you have to make forced decisions without being comfortable with those decisions in the moment, your opponent is controlling the state of the game. You as Deathguard need to understand that we're built to control the game. We're built to make them have debuffs. We're built for them to feel worse playing into us, and we can control the board with that. If you can factor these into how you're playing, you're going to have a better time in 11th with Deathguard. And then we also cross this one as well. Fighting across the board. We need to understand that you need to pick a mid and a lane and pressure those kind of angles instead of playing the whole thing. Because if Deathguard don't have enough models to spread around the whole board to fight everything, and we don't have good enough units to do that as well. We definitely have good units, but they're not designed to play this way. We're all meant to cramble up, spread contagion, and fight in waves and punish our opponent. I think if you can adopt all of these things and avoid these mistakes, you're going to have a great time and place higher in your RTTs and your GTs than you ever would before. So take this, run this up, see how you go. Get back to me in the comments or in Discord as well. Let me know what your thoughts are on these little kind of mistake slides. And if you have any mistakes of your own that you'd like to suggest to Deathguard, chuck it in the comments. We'd love to see it. So let's quickly go through the changes that I would like to apply for this list, and I'll tell you why and why I think that these would be beneficial if you want to run this particular Virulent Vectorium list for your RTT, since it performed really well for me. Alright, so here's the changes of the list, and let me explain to you why I've made these changes. So one thing that I found is banking on the Blight Lord Terminators, you need to have higher AP when you want to force invols. So here we're going to bring the Predator Destructor. His ability gives after he shoots, you can give increased AP to a unit that he shot. That's infantry or anything that's excluding monsters or vehicles. So pairing this up with the Blight Lord Terminators to run you through, they have base AP 1 guns, they get +1 AP for strength, -1 contagion, and then they also get +1 AP for the Predator Destructor. That's 4+ AP on most of their weapons. So for me, AP4 weapons with full hit and win rerolls is quite ridiculous, and I think that that's something that I'd love to explore. I've seen Aiden on Discussing Resilient podcast running Predator Destructors lately. I've done a couple practice games, and the results speak for itself. I'll bring the las cannon variants on the Predator Destructor as well, because we want to hurt those tougher models as they're coming out more often and frequently now. So we've got the Plague Boss still in play, which is going to wipe out all of the infantry if need be. So that's why I'm going to bring some las cannons, because we do have an answer for those infantry blobs. Defile is still here. Plague Marines without the the BP, the Biologics Putrefier, because I found that I wasn't getting a lot out of those 60 points investments with having that leader. I never got in this RTT and a couple practice games that +6 OC that I'm looking for. So I think dropping him and getting rid of him to open up some points elsewhere for enhancement or something along those lines would be good. For one of the playcasters, I have put in the Arc, what is it called? The Arc Contaminator, which gets full wound rerolls for him when he's attacking. I believe, is that when he's on an objective? Yes, when your unit's on an objective, he gets full wound rolls. So if you just drive on an objective and flame infantry off that you need to, that they can deal with, you'll get wound rerolls anyway regardless. It's just kind of a points filler, because you get rerolls out of the Rhino anyway by the time you do that. But it's just there to fill in points. Defile's still here. 2 Mythic Blight Holes are still here. I think they're still good for Melter and to spread Contagion. We've got the Death Shroud here. I dropped the Spawn because I found that we don't really need to play that aggressive with the Spawn at the moment, because I want to fill in the points to bring these two bad boys in. The War Dog Brigands. I think these guys in reserves coming down with Melter +4 with re-rolling hits when your opponent's on an objective is super strong. I found out that I needed that extra firepower with this list, especially against those higher tough models. Having 4 melt instead of 2 is definitely increased my odds. They also have the Gatling guns as well to hurt infantry as well. Pairing this up with, if you have something that's going to give Contagion, they've got -1 on all their stats as well for AP. So the Brigands, I thought, are a great thing. I've seen them. They're OC6 as well, so if they drop down an objective, happy days. That objective is way harder to get than not. So that's the changes I'd run. So if you want, try this list instead. Pilot it how you think it's going to go. Put in the comments if you agree with the changes or not. If you disagree, I'd love to hear why and your reasonings behind it, because you guys have great experiences outside of what I know too. And being a Deathguard community member, and everything that you guys are saying, we all should share together and exploit off it. But yeah, they're the changes I would make for the list against future games to make this more viable for what we're currently handling right now in 11th edition. Last but not least, let's go through the final verdict or the recap of the video. So what we need to do with Plague Marines and the army that we have right now is we need to practice on surviving early and not giving up too much board presence off the rip. We have to pressure the board. We have to make sure that we're not too sitting back in our reserves. We need to find ways to spread contagion and make sure that our opponents are put in awkward situations. We also need to make sure that we're collapsing one side as well. Very important as well, because that's the best way where we can set up our go turns, by collapsing one side and making one side weaker than the other to get that flank going from a strategic point of view. We also need to make sure that we're scoring late as well. Don't try to do all the scoring at the beginning of the game. Score late. That's how we play the best. We want to have attrition, force bad trades, and then start scoring after we've started really hurting and crippling our opponent. And then you don't have to copy the system as well. What I mean by that is everything that I've said, refine it how you want to play. It's a preference game. Yes, we can all bring the same list, but each person's going to pilot differently and play it how they think it's best. So don't copy the list. Take it, run with it, and enjoy the list. And this isn't just a list. This is just an idea for you guys to base around. Critique it, use it, get back to me with any changes that you guys have preference on. I'd love to give your versions a go as well and make videos of them as well. I think this is a great way for us to get, Deathguard back to its primal days at the end of 10th, bringing us all together and showing everyone else why Deathguard's the best community and the best Chaos faction to pick out of all of them. Alrighty guys, and that brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for sticking around the whole time, and thank you for hearing out all my points. I'm super happy and stoked that I came second in this RTT. I think it shows that Deathguard is still good if they're piloted right and the person that's using the army knows what they're doing. I think they're definitely good. Not great, but definitely not bad. For the most part, I think that if we get a couple changes, we will see top tables again soon. There's a lot of things that I think Deathguard are not built for how the game's currently played. So once we get those answered out, I think Deathguard will be back to their prime days. Anyway, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Appreciate every single one of you guys joining me up for this video. Make sure to join the Discord as well and come have a chat with us in there. I'd love you guys to be part of the Yucky Outback Nation. I know this is a shorter video than normal, and the content's a little bit riff-raffy. If you guys haven't guessed, here's my face. I got a camera sorted and everything now, so you can expect me to have a face reveal in most of my videos now. Make it a bit more interactive anyway. So anyway, guys, like I said, appreciate you for sticking around. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. And remember, guys, stay yucky.